Tonight in New York City and across the nation, cops are on high alert after the killing of 2 NYPD officers this past weekend. Welcome to Hannity. I'm Andrea Tanteros, in tonight for Sean. Yesterday, during a press conference, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio asked that protests be put on hold. Watch this.
I think it's important that regardless of people's viewpoints, that everyone recognizes it's a time to step back and just focus on these families. I think it's a time for everyone to put aside political debates, put aside protests, put aside all of the things that we will talk about in due time. So I'd ask that any organizations that were planning events or gatherings that are about politics and protests, that could be for another day. Let's accompany these families on their difficult journey. Let's see them through the funerals.
But the protesters did not listen, and many demonstrators once again took to the streets in the Big Apple today. This comes as MID reports that a small group of protesters yesterday gathered by the memorial in Brooklyn at the site where the 2 officers were gunned down this past weekend. Joining me now with reaction is Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clark. Sheriff, welcome to the program. I want to ask, you have your finger on the pulse of what is happening right now, and I know that this is a local story, but it is spread far beyond New York City. Do you see this anti-cop rhetoric, this sentiment spreading outside of New York?
Yes, I do, and it's happening here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin as well. Look, this is a national story now. I wish de Blasio would have taken a more conciliatory tone early on in this debate and discussion we were having. Instead, he chose divisive politics. I think his now support for law enforcement is a day late and a dollar short. I think it's hollow. I think it's insincere. But there's a way out of this, and here's what I would suggest. Bill de Blasio started this rift. If he wants to sound sincere in his support for NYPD and law enforcement all across America, he's going to have to issue a public statement or a written statement disavowing any further association with race hustler Al Sharpton. Al Sharpton is a vulgar human being. He's divisive and he spews hate. I think that would go a long way in showing their commitment. And I would suggest that the President of the United States and Eric Holder, the Attorney General, do the same thing. If you remove this race demagogue, Al Sharpton, from the equation, I think all sides would be willing to come together and start a new relationship. And then it would be up to the New York Police Union head to put his best foot forward and try to start a new relationship. But short of that, I don't see this coming together very soon. And it's not only hurting the city of New York, but it's hurting America at large.
You know, Sheriff, you say get rid of Al Sharpton, but when you look at the rhetoric coming from Bill de Blasio and Eric Holder, and even the president on race, because you remember Ferguson, when the president took to that podium, he basically elevated and put on the same moral equivalency the protesters and the cops. So some would argue, even if you get rid of Sharpton, the progressive wing of the Democratic Party has moved to be anti-police.
I understand that, but I think that would be a good faith gesture. I think it would be a start. I didn't say it would solve this thing, and I know you're not saying that. However, you're correct. These individuals, the President of the United States, the Attorney General, and Bill de Blasio, created a pathway for this unjustified hatred toward law enforcement. But this is solvable, but I think someone's going to have to, and that someone, I think, starts at the top, at the very highest offices of this land, including the office of Mayor of New York, is going to have to show a good faith effort. And I just think that symbolically, getting rid of Al Sharpton, no person holding a high position in the United States should keep company with Al Sharpton, should take counsel from Al Sharpton, or be seen with him. So I'm just saying that would be a good first step toward a new relationship to bring this country back together and bring these communities back together in support of our heroes, the American police officers.
Sheriff, what about this? We're learning this evening that the White House will be sending Vice President Joe Biden to the funerals of the 2 slain police officers. Is that enough?
No, that's nowhere near enough. Again, they're just, they're playing small ball here. They know that Joe Biden has a decent relationship with law enforcement, but as a law enforcement officer of 37 years, I'm not going to allow them to pander to me by offering up Joe Biden to kind of bring this thing to a close. What they said about trashing the American police officer, trashing their honor, their commitment, their sacrifice, their service, trashing their integrity and reputation, and now they're going to trot out Joe Biden and think that all is going to be okay. It's not going to be. It's going to take more than that. So these individuals are going to have to realize Joe Biden is not going to be enough.
Also, Sheriff, I want to follow up. Earlier in the block, you said that you're already starting to see the anti-cop sentiment spread, even in Milwaukee County. How so?
Well, we had a police shooting here about 8 months ago, and it led to a division in this community. And then on the heels of that, you had the Ferguson, Missouri incident, and then you had the incident in New York, and then an officer slain in Florida. 2 of New York's finest slain over the weekend. It's starting to grow that fervor. That's why I said creating that pathway that these individuals did, and there was political gain for it, they're going to have to give that political capital back. And so I think that unless we do something real tangible here, this is going to continue. It's not just destructive for the city of New York. It's not just destructive for Milwaukee and Ferguson, but every city in the United States of America, because the entire profession of policing has been trashed by these individuals, and they're going to have to take the first step. And it can't be some symbolic one like offering up Joe Biden. That's not going to get it done.
Such a good point, Sheriff. You know, New York is a microcosm for the rest of the nation, and it is driving the news cycle right now, this story. So we'll be watching it closely, and hopefully it doesn't spread. But as you point out, it's a big risk that it will. Sheriff Clark, thank you.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Merry Christmas to you, too. And joining us now with more reaction is